Hey everyone, today we are going to talk about face swapping. Face swapping is one of the biggest things, or probably one of the most common things that I do in some of my family photography sessions that I do. I don't necessarily expect to have a smile from the little ones in every single picture, but if there's a picture where I know the parents would really love to have that really good smile in there, I do what I can to try and give that to them. So right here I have an image from a session that I did this past winter, where the daughter is smiling really good. The son is looking pretty good, but I have another picture of his that he has just such a great smile, but sister is not looking at the camera. So in this instance, I am going to go through and I'm going to swap his face from this picture into this one right here, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So what I'm going to do, one thing I'll kind of caveat here is I already edited these two pictures exactly the same way, which is going to be huge because then I'm going to make sure that the skin tone from one picture to the next is going to transfer flawlessly. You don't want to transfer, say, a picture that looks like this into a picture that looks like this, because his face is not going to look the same from one to the other. So always make sure you start out with two pictures that have both been updated, both have the same adjustments done to them, so that you'll make sure that your skin tone is going to be flawless from one picture to the next. So what we're going to do is we're going to select both of the images that we're going to do some edits to, and we're going to right click on them and we're going to choose edit in Photoshop. Once we can see that both images have been brought in, we are going to bring the good smile into the image that has the bad smile, because the bad smile is the one that we want to be our final image. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to unlock the background by double clicking on the background name. I'm just going to click through OK because I don't need to change the name of the background. And then I'm going to do a Command A. I'm working on a Mac, so I'm going to Command A to select the entire image. And then I'm going to do Command C to copy that image. I'm going to go to the top of the screen and toggle over to the other image. Now again, this isn't a bad facial expression. It's not a bad smile. But knowing that I have a really good smile for him, I wanted to make sure that we had both brother and sister smiling as best we could. So I've copied my picture from the other side. I'm going to unlock this background layer as well. And then I'm going to paste Command V the other picture into this one. So you'll see that I've got one picture on top of the other. So now what I need to do is I need to make sure that both of my images are going to have his face end up the same size. So I'm going to start by changing the opacity to 50% on this top layer. So now you can see that I have one layer over the top of the other one. I'm going to select my arrow tool, which I'm going to use, looks like it'll be this one. And this way I can move around and make sure that I get his face exactly where I need it to. So in this instance, I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to try and match up his eyes as best I can. And we're going to do that by using the arrow key, because that's going to give us a more precise spot. And it does look like on one of the images I'm zoomed in more than I am on the other one. So I'm going to need to do just a little bit of transforming to make sure that his head is a little bit more proportional, because you can see his ear, even though this eye is lining up, his ears are not lining up. So we're going to do a little bit of an adjustment. So I'm going to do Command T, and that's going to give me the option of adjusting the image bigger and smaller. So you can already see by just even toggling this here, his ears and his face and his nose is already looking much closer together same size, same position as it did before. All right, so we're going to adjust just a little bit more to be a little more precise. And we might even have to rotate it a little bit as well, because the angle of his head looks like it changed a little bit too. So just kind of play around with your image and see what kind of adjusting you need to do. And mainly what I think I'm going to focus on this specific image is the eyes and the nose. Once I have those where I want them, it's pretty certain that once I transform or take that smile over, it's going to be in a really good spot and it's not going to look like it was misplaced on his head. So just a little bit more adjusting to the circle there. The nose is looking pretty good. Might just arrow up just a little bit so the nose is perfect. The eyes are pretty close. So I think we can go ahead. Let me just widen it one more time to make sure that we are right where we want to be. Bring the nose back over, because I'm kind of looking at the creases on his face as well, which they're not going to match up perfectly because, like I said, in one picture he's smiling and one he's not. So I'm focusing on this smile line here, his nose, and then the eyes, getting them as close as I can. So I think we are in a pretty good spot. I just sometimes like to just double check. All right, so I think we're okay right there. So what we're going to do is we are going to bring our opacity back up. Let me just move it just a little bit. I see his nose is looking a little bit off. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to come back over here, zoom out, and we're going to hit the enter key because right now we are in our transform function. So we're going to hit enter or return on your keyboard to lock it in where it is. And then we're going to come back over here and bring our opacity back up to 100. And now, because this is the layer that we want to get rid of, or we only want this smile, I'm going to move that to the bottom underneath the final layer. And then we're going to create a layer mask. So right down here where my mouse is, we're going to hit add layer mask, but we're going to do it on the top layer so that we can remove from the top layer to show or expose the bottom layer. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to come over and we're going to choose the eraser tool because we are going to erase from the top layer to expose the bottom layer. And one thing that I'll note is the reason why I'm using this masked layer versus just removing it or erasing it, this allows me, if I erase too much, to be able to bring it back. Because if I erase too much using the eraser tool, yes, you can do Command Z to undo, but if you've gone too far and realize there was an area that you took too much from, there's no bringing it back unless you undo everything else you did. So using this layer mask allows you to remove and add back if you need to. And I'm going to I'll walk you through that so you can see what I'm talking about. So we have our eraser tool, we've got our white color over here, and then we've got our brush. So we're going to make sure we're on our layer mask right here, and we're just going to start swapping his face. Okay, so one thing I'll note is you'll want to make sure when you're doing this, your brush is a nice, soft edge brush. You don't want anything too harsh. I'll show you. If I change this and put the hardness way up here, it just doesn't blend well. I know this is a very dramatic example over here, but I want it to be nice and soft. So I had this over here. We're going to bring this hardness down. So when we replace one to the other, it's going to be a nice, soft transition from one image to the next. So we're going to make sure we get as many of those shadows from one face to the other in here. We're going to try and stay away from the eyes on this one because I don't think we really need to bring the eyes over. It's more so just that smile that we needed to adjust from one image to the next. This chin shadow down here too, you can see I kind of went a little too far down there, so I'm going to bring that back. And again, that's exactly why you use this mask layer versus just the eraser. Because right here, if I go too much, I change my colors from white to black. Black is going to bring back my layer, and white is going to take it away. So keep in mind not to just straight use the eraser tool. You're going to want to use that mask layer. I'm just going to finesse this ever so slightly. I'm going to put my opacity down just a little bit, again, to help kind of blend from one layer to the next so it doesn't look so stark from the good layer to the bad layer. So just a little more blending over here, making sure I haven't erased too much in one spot, making sure I haven't missed any spots. Up here, you want to make sure it's nice and blended in. Might have gone a little too high up there. Really take your time and get as much smoothness out of here as you can. And that, I think, looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is I can show you where we started and where we are now, so you can see before, after. Look at how nice that smile is on this image, and it took no time at all to get us there. Again, I know this original one wasn't bad, but look at how much more powerful this image is when you have both kids with that great toothy smile. All right, so now that we have all that done, we still have our two layers over here. So to get it back into Lightroom, I'm going to select both layers, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to choose Merge Layers. And that's going to get me back to just one single layer, and then I can hit Command S to save it. And you'll see the saving status pop up here, so you'll know when it's ready to go back into Lightroom. And now we'll head back over into Lightroom. And then you'll see the new image pops up there. So let's go ahead and look again at that before and after. Before and after. Look at how nice that picture is, that image with both kids. Perfect, great smile. Mom and Dad are going to love that. And what an easy, easy swap that was. Was this tip helpful? Have you ever face swapped any sessions of yours where you've had a little kiddo who he only gives you one good smile throughout the whole session, so you kind of got to work your magic to get a couple more usable images out of it? Tell me about it down in the comments. And if you want to see more tips and tricks like this, hit that like button and subscribe.